In today's video, we're going to complete our final mock draft for the 2019 NHL Draft coming up here in a few days. We're going to go through picks 1 all the way through 31 and give you my thoughts on who will be selected in each spot for the entire first round. That's coming up next. So welcome back to Top Shelf Hockey and the final mock draft for the 2019 draft coming up here in a few days. As I go through each pick, I certainly encourage you to leave your comments down below. Let me know who you think these teams should select as well, and we can continue the conversation. Now let's get started with the first overall pick and work our way down to 31. The first overall selection belongs to the New Jersey Devils, and they will be selecting center iceman for the United States National Team Development Program, Jack Hughes. Now Jack Hughes is an absolutely phenomenal skater. The best skater in the draft, one of the best skaters we've seen here in quite some time. Fantastic top-end speed. Edge work is phenomenal. He's got soft and quick hands that handle the puck and make quick moves while skating at top speed, and has an accurate and quick release as well. I don't have any doubts at all that the New Jersey Devils will be selecting Jack Hughes first overall. The second overall pick belongs to the New York Rangers, and they will select from Finland, Kaapo Kakko. Now, Kakko is a terrific prospect, arguably the most ready NHL prospect in this draft. He's got size, speed, ability to finish, terrific vision. He's been playing over in Liga in Finland with grown men here, so he's playing against adults, not junior age players, and has had a phenomenal season. Certainly some people think he should go first overall, but I do believe the Devils will select Hughes, and he'll end up here going number 2 to the New York Rangers, but he's a special talent, and I do believe he can jump into the NHL and have an immediate impact here right away. The number 3 overall selection in this draft belongs to the Chicago Blackhawks, and they will select the top defenseman in the draft, Bowen Byram from the Vancouver Giants of the Western Hockey League. Byram is an explosive skater who can act as a one-man breakout. He blends his terrific acceleration and north-south speed with lateral edge work. Puck skills really stand out as well, while his enthusiasm for jumping into the rush makes him the type of player that opponents need to have a game plan for every night to be able to handle. He plays a strong two-way game and has a healthy amount of grit in his game as well, given his size, but his strengths are definitely his skating and passing the puck up the ice and then joining the rush. He's a phenomenal defenseman with the ability to be a number 1 guy at the NHL level. The number 4 selection in this draft belongs to the Colorado Avalanche, and I have them selecting Alex Turco of the United States National Team Development Program. Now, Turco has committed to playing for the University of Wisconsin, so he will be going through the U.S. college hockey system. He's an excellent skater with NHL pedigree. He's the son of former NHL player Alfie Turco. He's got great offensive instincts, but he's by far the most solid two-way player in this draft, and I think he'd be a terrific fit in the Colorado Avalanche lineup. The number 5 selection in this draft belongs to the Los Angeles Kings, and I have them selecting center ice from the Saskatoon Blades, Kirby Dach. Now, Kirby Dach is known as a pass-first center, so his playmaking is certainly really strong. He's got great awareness and puck skills. He has terrific hockey sense, and he's a great skater as well. He really is the entire package. He does lack some explosiveness with his skating, so that's something he's working on, but he is an overall good skater, just getting out of the blocks here a little bit faster. Certainly gets a little bit of a comparison to a player like a Joe Thornton for his passing abilities and maintaining control of the puck in tight spaces. I think Dach would be a terrific addition to the Kings forward group. The number 6 selection belongs to the Detroit Red Wings, and I have them selecting yet another forward for the United States National Team Development Program, Trevor Ziegler. Now, Ziegler is comparable somewhat to Jack Hughes, but the skating is not quite the same dynamic. Ziegler is a highly skilled center with tremendous puck skills and vision. He's committed to playing for Boston University, so another player going through the U.S. college system here. He'll probably get more publicity if Hughes wasn't on the same squad, but make no mistake about it, he has terrific playmaking ability, terrific vision, and he's played often on the top lines. He's often even played on the wing with Jack Hughes as well, because he can certainly keep up and has comparable skill. The number 7 selection belongs to the Buffalo Sabres, and the trend of selecting forwards from the U.S. National Team Development Program continues with Kol Caulfield. He might be small, but this guy can score, and he can score with the best of them. He, along with Jack Hughes, have set a lot of records this past year in the United States National Team Development Program, and I really think, even though he's small, hopefully teams don't overlook this kid, because he could be an explosive goal scorer in the NHL. The records he set this year is absolutely phenomenal. The best pure goal scorer in this NHL draft, which is something that the Sabres desperately need. Imagine him possibly playing on the top line with Jack Eichel and Jeff Skinner. That sounds like a lethal trio if you ask me. The number 8 selection belongs to the Edmonton Oilers, and I have them selecting center iceman from the WHL's Lethbridge Hurricanes, Dylan Cozens. Now, Dylan Cozens is a complete center, can play two-way game, was skilled to burn, gets around the ice incredibly well. He's a really big guy as well, so getting around the ice as well as he does is very impressive. He has an accurate and heavy shot, and in many ways, he's the opposite of center iceman Kirby Dach, who went earlier in this draft. He's a shoot-first center iceman with a tremendous shot. He's got elite speed and a powerful skater who can play a power forward type of game. There are some people who feel he may end up being a winger at the NHL level, but either way, he'll either be a powerful winger or a solid two-way center iceman who can play in your top 6, which is something that the Edmonton Oilers could desperately use. The number 9 selection belongs to the Anaheim Ducks, and yet another forward from the United States National Team Development Program will be selected here, Matthew Beaudin. Now, Matthew Beaudin is a goal scorer first, one of the better pure goal scorers in this draft, but he also has the vision to make him a dual threat as an excellent playmaker as well. His one-on-one skills are above average thanks to his silky smooth hands, probably the second best pure goal scorer in this draft behind Kol Caulfield, and I think will be a terrific addition to the Ducks forward group. The number 10 selection belongs to the host team of this NHL draft, the Vancouver Canucks, and I have them selecting from the BCHL, Alex Newhook. Now, Alex Newhook is committed to playing for Boston College, so another player going through the U.S. college system here. He ended up leading the BCHL in scoring and can finish in a variety of ways. He's got incredible speed, dangerous hands, excellent hockey sense, and is equally deadly with the pass or the shot, making him a dual threat coming down off the rush. He's also a pretty solid defensive player, and I think would be a great complement to the young group of forwards the Canucks have going on with their current team. The number 11 selection in this draft belongs to the Philadelphia Flyers, and I have them selecting Russian forward Vasili Podkolzin. Now, Podkolzin is a polarizing figure in this draft. There's a variety of different opinions by many out there. Many feel that there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be scared off the fact that he's likely going to be playing in the KHL for a few years before he comes over to play in North America, but I do think that there's a lot of skill here that many teams are not going to overlook. I see the Philadelphia Flyers as being a terrific team who are in a position to be able to take a chance here on Podkolzin. They have a plethora of young prospects already in their system, so they can take the chance and let him develop in Russia for a few years, where considering the forward group they've already got in place. He has high-end offensive awareness, lightning quick hands, he's got a good-sized frame, he works hard in all three zones, and his two-way play are really certainly getting a lot of attention here as being a solid two-way player. I just don't think his skill can be denied, and I see the Flyers being the ones to take a chance and draft the Russian winger. The number 12 selection in the draft belongs to the Minnesota Wild, and I have them selecting the top goaltender, and the first goalie selected here, Spencer Knight, another player from the United States National Team Development Program. He's also committed to going to Boston College, so he will be playing college hockey probably for a few years before he makes a jump to the NHL. He certainly had a terrific season. During the Under-18 Worlds, he played in 6 games, put up a 1.51 goals against and a .936 save percentage. He's a solid butterfly goalie with explosive side-to-side movements. He communicates well with his defense, calm, and does not get rattled. It's kind of like a Carey Price type of attitude back there where he's calm, cool, and collected. You don't see him getting rattled. He could certainly be one of the best goalie prospects the NHL has seen here in some time, and certainly one of the few NHL goalies to go in the first round. We see a lot of teams kind of shy away here from goalies in round 1 now, but the Minnesota Wild are a team, in my opinion, who really needs to look to the future here, and he could be a terrific addition to join their club in a couple years' time when he's ready, and it's exactly the type of player they need to move this organization forward. The number 13 selection in the NHL draft belongs to the Florida Panthers, and I have them selecting Swedish defenseman Viktor Soderstrom. Now, Viktor Soderstrom's a pretty solid puck-moving defenseman, pretty good skater. He certainly loves to create the offense, and he's not too bad in his own end as well. He's a pretty sturdy defender, certainly somebody who's not quite as dynamic as, say, an Adam Boqvist, who was a first-rounder from Sweden in last year's NHL draft, but certainly a better, more well-rounded defenseman in that regard right now. So I do see him having top 4 solid potential here in the NHL. The Florida Panthers, in my opinion, have a lot of young forwards. I think Viktor Soderstrom would be a terrific addition to the Panthers organization. The number 14 selection in the draft belongs to the Arizona Coyotes, and I have them selecting another center from the WHL, Payton Krebs. Now, Payton Krebs, for the most part, throughout the year was ranked a little bit higher in this draft, but I do see some of these other players kind of passing him a little bit. Plus, Krebs was also suffered an Achilles injury late in the year here, so I do feel that's going to end up impacting his draft stock a little bit as we head into the draft this coming Friday. Obviously, there's usually a player or two in the first round who tend to drop a little bit more than expected, and I have a feeling Krebs is going to be that player. Now, he's a very energetic, industrious, playmaking center iceman with incredibly high hockey IQ. He's a really smart player. He can see the plays develop ahead of him. He's got great anticipation, and he can certainly be a terrific playmaking center iceman with great puck skills, and I think he'd be a terrific addition to the Coyotes lineup. The number 15 selection belongs to the Montreal Canadiens, and I have them selecting Thomas Harley from the Ontario Hockey League, who's a very large, mobile, left-shot defenseman with big upside. He thrives in the transition game. He's very efficient, play-driving defender, blends good size and good speed. Not only accepted a larger role with Mississauga this year, but he thrived with it. The 17-year-old led all OHL draft-eligible defenders with 11 goals and 58 points in 68 games. Had an incredibly impressive season. We know the left side of the Habs defense certainly is an area of focus for this team, and I think he'd be a terrific addition to be able to help with that here, probably in a year or two's time when he's ready for the NHL. With their second selection in the first round, the number 16 selection belongs to the Colorado Avalanche, and I have them taking German-born defenseman Moritz Seider. He's 6'3", 208 pounds, right-shot defenseman. That in itself is very attractive as right-shot defenseman with a lot of skill, or certainly hard to find these days. It's rare to see a highly touted draft-eligible player coming out of the DEL league as well. His stock steadily rose throughout the course of the season. Seider completed his year on another high note, becoming one of the youngest defensemen to score a goal at the World Championship Tournament. He produced 2 goals in 5 games while seeing second-pair deployment and had a very impressive tournament. This kid has been rising throughout the year and could end up being a terrific draft steal for the Avalanche here at the middle of the first round. The number 17 selection belongs to the Vegas Golden Knights, and they will select yet another player from the United States National Team Development Program, defenseman Cam York. So our trend here continues of 3 consecutive defensemen going in the draft. Think of Cam York as basically your prototypical new age defenseman. He's a great skater who moves the puck very quickly and efficiently. He's a Southern California native who used to be coached by Scott Niedermayer. So as I've often said, if he got a lot of attributes from Niedermayer and turns out to be anywhere near as good, then he's going to be a terrific NHL player. He's very unfazed by pressure. He's a great playmaker on the power play, always improving his defensive game as well. So I certainly have a lot of faith here that Cam York will be a pretty solid top 4 defenseman in the NHL. The number 18 selection belongs to the Dallas Stars, and the trend of selecting defensemen here continues with another Swedish defenseman going to the Stars, Phillip Broberg. Now, Broberg's a pretty solid two-way defenseman. He's got pretty good size and speed, good puck skills, pretty good on the mobility side of things as well. His upside to become a number 3 or 4 defenseman with good offensive numbers are pretty solid. So I do think the Dallas Stars very well could lend themselves a pretty solid second-pair defenseman here with Broberg. The number 19 selection belongs to the Ottawa Senators, and I have them selecting a forward from the Halifax Mooseheads and the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, Raphael Lavoie. Now, Raphael Lavoie is an excellent two-way player. He's got excellent size. He's 6'4". He can play center as well as the wing. Like I said, he's got a great speed. He's got an excellent shot. He protects the puck well, drives the net hard. I think he has a strong possibility to play a power forward type of role at the NHL. And if you take a look at all the young, great prospects in the Senators system, it's a type of player that they don't have a lot of. And really, if you take a look, he's not really all that similar to Brady Tkachuk, but Tkachuk would probably be the closest type of player on the Senators. But if you mix him in there as well, they could be a very difficult team to play against and be a kind of team who can certainly drive hard to the net and create a lot of havoc for the defending team. The number 20 selection belongs to the Winnipeg Jets, and I have them selecting forward from the OHL, Ryan Suzuki. Of course, his older brother Nick's also an NHL drafted player, likely could be debuting this coming year with the Montreal Canadiens. Now, Ryan Suzuki certainly thinks the game very well. He's a great skater as well. I'd say he's got a little bit more speed than his brother Nick. He also has great vision. This guy's a terrific passer, and I'd certainly like to see him use his shot more as well. Obviously, Ryan Suzuki, where he's such a pass-first type of guy, certainly could use to shoot a little bit more. I'd also see him like to take this game more to the net. He tends to stay on the outside, more of a perimeter player, so I'd certainly like to see him increase that as well. But overall, he's very creative. He's a very silky distributor of the puck, and his vision allows a lot of offense to be created in the offensive zone. So I think he'd be a terrific potential top 6 forward here for the Winnipeg Jets. The number 21 selection in the NHL draft belongs to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I have them selecting defenseman Ville Heinola. Now, he's a very talented offensive defenseman. He's a good skater, but he's certainly not somebody you'd say is incredibly fast. His speed is certainly something that could be worked on, but overall his skating is good. His edge work is amazing. So if he can get a little bit faster, he'd be that much more valuable. But he's a very smart player. He's got great vision with good passing skills, gets out of the zone well, certainly has top 4 defenseman potential at the NHL level. The number 22 selection belongs to the Los Angeles Kings, and I have them selecting defenseman from the WHL, Matthew Robertson. Now, Robertson is a pretty strong two-way mobile blue liner, close to impossible to beat one-on-one. His defensive skills are pretty strong. Very few teenage defensemen can force opponents into so many unsuccessful zone entries simply by standing up to blue lines. Kind of like a throwback defenseman from the Western Canadian Hockey League here. Obviously, those of the defensemen back years ago were known to be very, very tough and physical, and he plays that very similar type of game. So he can certainly be a very strong defensive defenseman with a little bit of offensive upside here. So I could see Matthew Robertson being a terrific fit on the Kings blue line here in a few years' time. The number 23 selection belongs to the New York Islanders, and I have them selecting forward from the Ontario Hockey League, Arthur Kalia. Now, Kalia is a type of player who, again, is one of those guys who seems to be a high-risk, high-reward type of player. Certainly a lot of different opinions about him out there amongst all the different scouting services. But what it boils down to is Kalia is a pure goal scorer. He's got a terrific and powerful shot. Often scores on the backhand and the forehand. He's a dual threat that way. Put up 51 goals and 51 assists in the OHL. Even though he had a lot of changing teammates and line mates throughout the year, didn't matter who he played with, he put up the numbers and produced. So overall, I think he's got a lot of skills that can make him successful here at the NHL. The number 24 selection belongs to the Nashville Predators, and I have them selecting American-born forward Bobby Brink. Now, Bobby Brink is another smaller forward, comparable in size to Kol Caulfield. He's a smidge taller, but not really all that much. He's got excellent vision and anticipation, so his hockey IQ is really quite high. He put up 35 goals in the USHL last year, but his problem is he's not a very good skater. His skating needs a lot of work, and if his skating is going to be improved enough to make it to the NHL, I guess we will see. So he's a little bit of a project. He has committed to playing at the University of Denver, so he's going to go through the college hockey system for the next couple of years here. But we will see. I think he's a player who's worth taking a chance on. Skating is certainly something that's a lot easier to work on than a lot of these other skills that come naturally. So I do see the Predators taking a shot here on Bobby Brink. The number 25 selection belongs to the Washington Capitals, and I have them selecting Swedish defenseman Tobias Bjornfot. Now, he's known as a complete defender. He's excellent in all zones, so he can play both sides of the puck relatively well. He's got excellent lateral movement with the puck, which allows him to find time and space to make plays under pressure. So he's certainly not a flashy guy, kind of flies under the radar here a little bit, but he's somebody who's pretty solid in all 3 zones, and I think he'd be an excellent addition to the Capitals group of prospects. The number 26 selection belongs to the Calgary Flames, and I have them selecting forward from the Western Hockey League's Prince Albert Raiders, Brett Leeson. Now, by definition, this is what you'd call a late bloomer. He's already been passed over in the draft on 2 occasions, but this is going to be the year where not only does he get selected, I do believe he will be a solid first-round selection. This past year, he put up 89 points in 55 games for the Raiders, and he also represented Canada at the World Junior Championships and had a pretty solid tournament. Skating was by far his biggest weakness in the past, but something that he's certainly worked hard on and made a lot of real improvements on. He can certainly play a power forward type of game. He's got a great shot, a quick release, and he's a pretty solid playmaker as well, and he's certainly working on being a better two-way player. The number 27 selection in the NHL draft belongs to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I have them selecting forward Samuel Polana from the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Now, of course, he would be a second-generation player as well. He's the son of former player Patrick Polana. He's a decent skater, but could use some more improvement in that regard for sure. He needs to work on his footwork to get to top speed faster, so his actual skating isn't too bad. He's just a little bit slower out of the gate than what he's likely going to need to be to make it at the NHL, but he certainly plays a power forward type of game, wins a lot of puck battles. He's got good size, good shot, really smart hockey player overall. Once he gets down into the offensive zone and can battle along the boards, he really gets a lot accomplished. He can be a great power forward type of guy. If his skating can improve just enough here, in the next year or two, he could be a major impact forward at the NHL. The number 28 selection belongs to the Carolina Hurricanes, and I have them selecting another forward from the Ontario Hockey League, Phillip Tomasino. Now, he's a very high-energy kind of guy. He plays with a lot of pace, and he's an excellent skater. One of the better skaters in the UHL for sure. He's got a great set of hands. He's a great playmaker, which makes him a dual threat coming down the ice. So he can certainly score plenty on his own as well as set up his teammates. He's one of the younger players in this draft as well, as he doesn't even turn 18 until after the draft. I think he'd be a terrific addition to the young good group of forwards that the Hurricanes have in their organization. They have even more than enough defensemen in their system already, so I do believe the Hurricanes are more than likely to select a forward, and he'd be a great fit with what they've got going on in Carolina. The number 29 selection belongs to the Anaheim Ducks, and I have them selecting another forward here from the Ontario Hockey League, Connor McMichael. Now, McMichael is an excellent skater. Something he's been working on this year is being more of a shooter. Certainly was more of a pass-first type of guy before, but he certainly worked on his shot and shooting more often this year, and that certainly worked out for him quite well. He's certainly taking advantage of a pretty quick release on his wrist shot, which is certainly something that's one of his stronger tools here. He also has excellent accuracy and pretty good power and vision as well. He's got a strong hockey IQ, and he's already a pretty solid defensive forward as well, so he can play the two-way game very responsibly. So I can see him being an excellent addition to the Ducks forward group here in a few years' time. The number 30 selection belongs to the Stanley Cup finalists, the Boston Bruins, and I have them selecting Swedish forward Nils Hoglund. Now, Hoglund's a little bit smaller. He's only about 5'9", but he more than makes up for it with his outstanding skating ability. He's lightning quick, has terrific speed and acceleration. He's a terrific stick handler and can make plays at high speed, which makes him a deadly threat coming in off the rush. Even though for a smaller player as well, he's not afraid of the physical game and certainly works hard in all three zones, making him a pretty decent two-way player. So I see him being a good fit here for the Boston Bruins. The number 31 selection belongs to the Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues, and I have them selecting a defenseman from the WHL, Lars Thompson. Now, Thompson is a strong skater with terrific edge work, and he's very agile as well. He's great at getting his shot through from the blue line, so he can certainly be a pretty strong power play player at the NHL, I do believe. He makes a great first pass out of the zone, but needs to work a little bit more on his defensive play to make the jump to the NHL. Many believe he has top 4 D potential at the NHL level, but like many of his young defensemen here, obviously the defensive game at the NHL is a much bigger step than what he's used to playing in the junior ranks here. So as he continues to work his defensive game, he should hopefully learn himself an opportunity to possibly be a top 4 guy for the Blues here down the road. So those are my top 31 selections for the entire first round of the 2019 NHL Draft. Of course, as always, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know down in the comments who you would select if you were these teams picking with these selections. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.